want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. Brad Rayer here. No guest again this week because off season, everybody's busy. Actually, today, Ray, everybody's at the yard sale except for us, I think.
The yard. You know what? And I get it. And it's unfortunate. Yard sales are so fun, aren't they? Do you enjoy them?
Cane's yard
As a
sales
rule, Cane's yard sale, you'd never get me out of. But sometimes you go and find little gems and pieces and stuff like that. I don't want to say like I'm a Canadian picker or an American picker like you see on the history channels there or whatever, but I don't mind taking a look around and stuff. You can find some great comic books, man.
I am of an age, and my mom passed away many years ago, and that was one of the things that she and I would do. I used to find, you get a little steal on something. It was great.
I know it's awesome. It's awesome. But so yeah, everyone enjoying the yard sale, picking up some great stuff, I'm sure, having fun, and it's celebrating the Hurricanes.
I love to see fans who are like, Carolina doesn't have fans. And then you go on Twitter and you see that people were camping out since like 12:30 this morning. And the line apparently is around PNC Arena to get into the yard sale. And it just opened to non-season ticket holders, I think, within the last hour. So.
I don't question that in the least. Like, that's another amazing event. Something that you don't really hear of here in Calgary. I've never heard of an event quite like that. You know what I mean? Like, we love our team and we're Canadian, right? We love hockey, but that's something outstanding. The organization is doing great things to connect with the fans in every way possible, build up that really strong base.
And what a good way to get rid of old stuff, right? Old jerseys, sticks, gloves that aren't going to be used anymore. Let the fans have them at, I know a lot of people come in and resell, but I saw a lot of posts from our followers that they were just so excited to get that stick or those gloves or that jersey that they've been looking for.
It's mounted on a wall, right? Or you put them in a display case and stuff. That's pride. That's love of your team. That's everything. I love it. Great idea.
I might have. Well, let me ask you a question. Let me put it this way. Have you ever bid on an auction and you didn't expect your bid to win whatsoever, and then you won twice?
Oh, wow. I have bid on a couple of auctions and really wanted it. And sometimes I would even snipe. And you know what sniping is. If you've done any sort of auction, that you wait to the very last second and then you put in a hefty number to make sure that you get it. And it ticks everyone off. No one likes a sniper. That was me. But look, I really needed those things. So it's one of those things.
AHL Auctions has been doing their Calder Cup Finals auctions. And you can't snipe these. They've learned about people. If there's a bid in the last 5 minutes of the auction is extended for 5 minutes in perpetuity. Every time somebody bids in the last 5 minutes, it adds 5 minutes on.
Oh, really?
So I'm seeing gold pucks because gold pucks are unique, right? It's a one of a kind. That person scored that one goal one time.
Yeah.
They're way cheaper than jerseys. They're cheaper than sticks.
Sure.
I put in bids for a Jack Drury Calder Cup Finals Game 4.
Oh, yeah?
And a Jalen Chatfield Game 3 gold puck. Not expecting my bids to be nearly high enough to win either auction, and I won them both.
Boy.
I'm tickled pink. So the fact I can't be at the Kings yard sale today, I can't
You've done your own yard sailing.
I made out like a bandit this week. I got those pucks for a ridiculously low price.
And now are they signed? Like the goal pucks?
They're not. They're so it's straight off the ice, and they tape around the outside with the name and the number of the goal, and that's it. but I'm going to take them both with me when I go down to the outdoor game, fully expecting that Drury and Chatfield will be on the team.
That would be outstanding. Signed. And see, now that's something that's a little weird. Here's more discovery for hockey that maybe I wasn't aware of. Do you know if they, like, outside of the players who score their first goal in the NHL or whatever, everyone's quick to grab. If it's a key puck or whatever, someone will go and grab the puck and make sure that it's pulled aside. I didn't realize that the AHL finals, they did that for every goal. Is that a traditional type thing that if you want a game scored used puck, that they start with a new puck right away and set that one aside to be sold? Or
I believe that's been the tradition, is once the goal goes in, the team takes it, they tape it, they wrap it, they number it, whatever, and they use a new puck. Because a lot of people may not realize, even when the pucks don't go out of bounds, you might go through 40 or 50 hockey pucks a game.
Wow.
So they change them up.
And they do that in the NHL too.
Yes, sir.
Like every goal. Wow, that's something I didn't know. I thought, the friggin' once the goaltender takes that puck and fires it out of the net and stuff down the other side of the ice, they'll pick it up and say, okay, let's go back, and they bring it to center. I didn't realize they changed it out.
No, some teams like the Hurricanes sell their pucks directly. The Canes Foundation sells them at auction style to raise money for charity.
Sure.
MEI Gray is an auction house, and they have contracts with a number of teams: the Blue Jackets, the Bruins, the Predators, the Blue Jackets, and all those pucks go to them to then be sold to the public. So, yep.
There you go. The Storm Cellar, not just a place for caniacs and jerks to celebrate and enjoy the team, but it's also an educational system. Who knew? Educated, something new every day.
We're educating 2 less people today, Ray. I was very excited to say we've hit 750 followers.
Oh no!
But we're at 748. But I'm okay with it, I think.
Okay. 750. That's awesome.
I tweeted out, because I don't use my personal Twitter account ever, which has been on Twitter for 15 years. I almost never post anything to it. I use our account. So if you're on Twitter and you see something you don't like, it's me, not Ray.
Yeah, you'll find Judge Walker 10 out there too. That's mine.
I posted some mean-ish things about Alex Jones and losing his defamation suit. and almost immediately lost 2 followers, and I'm like, I'm guessing those 2 things are related, and I don't see why anybody who's like a huge Alex, Jones, QAnon, I don't know why those people were listening to. I assume they don't listen to the show at all, because they would have unfollowed us a long time ago. But I just thought it was
yeah.
It made me chuckle. That's really all.
Yeah, what a great decision on that issue. We don't want to go on to that tangent, because I could fly off the handle, but those were great decisions, and
it made
more of them be forthcoming in the weeks to come. A whole bunch more decisions exactly like those ones. Just keep piling it on.
In similar and related financial news. My mic cut out there for a second. Short version is Don Waddell came out and said, we're pretty close to a deal on Marty Necas. It's not been confirmed anywhere, although there have been a few reports from, I would say suspect websites saying that a deal is done at 2 years at $3 million a year, which seems to be kind of what we thought the line, right? It looks like I would expect to hear Marty Necas re-signed probably this week.
That's I don't want to say surprising, but I'm very glad that this is, and I read the story on this, and they've been talking every day. Necas has been a focus for this. They're like almost every day they've been talking and negotiating and trying to get things worked out, and that's absolutely outstanding to have that connection. Communication is the key in all of these things, right? You need to be talking things out, crunching numbers, and it's the life of a GM and the agents that deal with the players, right? And handle the players. It's how the whole negotiating process is kind of a dance, right? It's just a never-ending dance until they get things signed. And to have Necas re-signed, that just strengthens an already real super strong team. And Necas has been with the team since the very beginning, drafted to this team. So a lot of people, as frustrating as he can be, which he has been, have a real connection to him and want him on board. And despite some of the other losses that we've had, I think I've heard a few fans that were, I say heard, I've seen a few fans, social media and stuff like that, that say, losing Trocheck, losing Nino, and losing Necas would be a colossal failure by Waddell. And even including the great steal that he made with Burns and the real steal, frankly, Patches.
Deal,
yeah, that was really tough. Let's be perfectly honest there. To me, if you lost all three, I kind of, I was of this feeling that losing. I'm still of the thing of a sign and trade for Necas, just because he has a lot of value, and that value and his skill could be a piece that could bring someone else in at the trade deadline and be really just really get us fired up for the playoffs. It's no disrespect to Necas. You've heard me say it. I've sung the praises of his talent and his skill as much as anyone. I recognize it. I see it. I know it. He could do those things for us. The problem is just gripping the stick maybe too tight, or the pressure or whatever. I don't know what it is, but he just might be ready for a new environment. You know what I mean?
Some guys just need new scenery, right?
Yeah. So I think that would be great. I'm not sure where that would put us in the whole cap situation. How much room do we have to play with here as far as cap space in the grand scheme of things?
So the because it's not official, the Hurricanes have 1.8 million free. So
okay.
A deal for Necas at $3 million puts the team over the cap, which is fine for the summer.
Okay.
But they would need to move a contract or buy somebody out before season starts. So somebody is still going to go.
Okay.
And I think I mentioned last week, with Bear and Gardner tying up $6.5 million as potential third pair defensemen. I think that has to be where the money comes from. It has to be.
Yeah.
I don't see where else you cut.
And oddly enough, speaking of Gardner, everyone's favorite play-by-play for the Kings, Mike Maniscalco, spent some time on the NHL Network just yesterday. Had a chance to catch that in listening while I was working. He does great interviews. I gotta say, he's fired up. There's the love of his team, but he's also straight with you too. Very, very straight, and he gives the goods, and he knows. And so he had actually time that they brought up. One of the questions was, hey, aside from all the preparations that you've done and a strong D, how about Jake Gardner coming back? What's the situation there? Where do you think he'll fall? And much like we've visited this before, Mike said the same thing. He said, yeah, looks like he's gonna be ready to go for training camp. And the idea, what he stressed was, this might be the most important training camp of his career. Coming back from the injuries, being away from the game for more than a year, to prove this is the one for his career, essentially. And Maniscalco believes he's easily among, if he has a great camp, he's easily among the 7 that stay on board with the team on opening day. And who's to argue? I mean, if he's got a lot of talent,
if he's playing like he did in Toronto,
and that was the reference point. They want to see how he was in Toronto, and he would be a great second power play line quarterback. That Brent Burns has kind of been named the PP1 guy, and it makes sense. Of course, he's great in that regard. But one of the things that he also added in and amongst all of the discussion is that not only is the training camp going to be watched by the Canes, watched by the fans heavily to see where Gardner fits in, it's going to be watched heavily by a lot of the other GMs from around the league, for the exact reason that you just hinted. He could be something that's he could be very tradable and an asset that could be very, very big once the trade deadline comes around. So even if he makes the team, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to stay with us for a run at the Cup. He might be a piece as well, because there might be a lot of interest for a guy of his talent and his skill if he's healthy.
100. I totally agree. I think it's what Jake Gardner do you get, because he's played 650 games almost with 277 points. So almost half a point per game. And that's including 3, 1.5 terrible years in Carolina.
Sure.
And another bad year and a half with what appears to be a bad back and a back hip. So
yeah, you know what? And the 650 games, I didn't realize he had that much under his belt, oddly enough. And there's a veteran presence and importance for that, which, oddly enough, the team brought in guys with, Brent Burns, right? Think about his veteran presence. And I've seen some of the pictures of him working out already in Hurricanes gear. Rod's going to love him.
Oh, yeah.
He's got to.
I think everybody's already starting to go, oh, yeah, this guy. Even folks who didn't know much about him because he was a West Coaster. People like a lunch bell guy around here.
Oh, working hard, getting in the gym, doing his thing. That's what you want out of this guy. And he's going to be great. And it was funny because staying with that interview with Mike, he also had a chance to point out something that it kind of dawned on me. Okay, I've been following this team. I love this team, but there was like an epiphany of sorts while I'm driving, where one of the discussions was, bringing in the veteran presence. The question was asked to him, look, is the reason why the Hurricanes weren't able to get past that second round tied to the youth? You know what I mean? Like, are they too young? They haven't,
right.
And I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean youth? And then they drop the line that Svechnikov, as great as he is 21. It feels like I've been cheering for him for 10 years, but he's only 21. Aho is 23. We've got Seth Jarvis, who turns 20 this year. We've got all of this unbelievable talent that is so young, and the veteran presence brought in. Maybe Gardner's one of those guys that can help stabilize, because when you look at the Stanley Cup win, let's take you back to 2005, 2006. Mark Recchi, Doug Waite, like all of
instrumental.
Instrumental, and their veteran presence was key, absolutely key.
And for me, it's about, especially with Burnsy and Pacioretty, I'm sure Burns doesn't have a cup. I feel pretty confident that Pacioretty doesn't either.
No.
Those guys are hungry.
Oh,
Burns has been around a long time. He's come close, I think, a few times.
Yep.
They won a cup. In terms of a veteran presence, I think is a great way to put it. So Svechnikov actually is 22 because his birthday just passed a couple months ago.
Oh, did it?
But
okay.
This season, we expect 22. To see. He's still 22, right? Like it's a big difference. We expect to see Jack Drury come up this year as a 22-year-old. And he's had a more traditional route to the NHL. College, juniors, AHL, and now he's here, in my mind, on schedule as a 22-year-old.
Yeah.
But you mentioned we have KK, we have Svechnikov, we have Jarvis, who have all been in the league and have, and are stepping right into roles. I mean, nobody would call Svechnikov a rookie anymore.
No.
I wouldn't say he's a veteran in the sense of like a Burns, right? Or an Eric, or a Jordan Staal. But he's not a rookie. So he's somebody who's at that transitional age. And Garner's a little older than that, but Garner is somebody who could, because of what he can do with the puck. You mentioned it earlier, power play 2 quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And I've said a couple times, I think if you move him or Bear, you would rather move Gardner because of the contract.
Yeah.
But it'll be easier to move Bear because of the contract.
Yeah.
But even with those bad seasons we mentioned, like I said, it was almost 3 years where his output was just bad.
Fell off the cliff, right?
He puts up double the points per game that Bear does. And I liked everything about Ethan Bear's game early last year. I was really happy with it. So if you can get old school Garner, I think you're right. I think you hang on to him for a little bit, ship him out to a contender or to somebody who wants to improve their blue line and upgrade your forwards, which are already upgraded from last season.
Already outstanding.
You mentioned we lose Trocheck, we lose Nino, we can't lose Necas. I think I've just been around long enough that, and I also come from having been a district manager of a retail company, and sometimes business is business, and things have to be done that you don't like.
Yeah.
And so, as much as I love guys, it doesn't affect me the way it used to, right? It used to just be soul crushing. Now I kind of know what's coming up. I didn't feel that way. Like am I sad Nino's gone? Yep. I expected Trocheck to be gone. Am I sad about that? Absolutely. I love that guy. I'm glad that Necas is coming back because he can be a talent. I think he can do it. Whether it's here or somewhere else is the question.
Well, Brad.
Just real quick, Ray.
Yeah.
The question is, are we better? Is the forward group better this year than last year?
Oh, yeah.
I know people love Trocheck and Niederreiter, but do we have better forwards this year than last year? And the answer is yes.
The answer is yes. The answer is yes. And it's funny. What I was jumping in on was just to point out your ability to foresee the future, because way back when we signed KK and brought him in, your immediate response was, this is going to be Trocheck's replacement. And I've heard interviews with Rod Brindamore, who has looked at KK and said, we've tried to fit him in on the wings and stuff like that, but he's a center. And that's something that you knew right from the very start. He's a center. That's what he loves to play. And when you looked at Trocheck, the ability to re-sign, and then we sign KK to the long-term contract, you jumped in immediately and said, it looks like Trocheck is on his way out the door.
Yeah.
And we've got his replacement. And that's exactly what happened. So I interrupted you briefly only to hype you up, because I'll be your hype man. You called it. You knew it was coming. And I mean, a lot of people might have said, is that the way we want to go or whatever? KK's going to have to show it.
You're right. And I don't have the time to spend on these depth guys, and I don't have the time to spend looking at minors, although I'm making myself watch more AHL and trying to keep up with KHL and the Liga and the Swedish Hockey League. But when I'm looking at spreadsheets and things, because way back in the day I said, look, I like to look at numbers. Like right? Numbers make sense to me. I can look for patterns. In my mind, even if I didn't know hockey, if you just said, Brad, this is a sports team, these are the salaries, these are the players, this is what they can do. When you sign KK for that kind of money, you go, okay, well, that's not fourth line money.
No.
Could be third line center money, but you have a third liner who's locked up for another 2 years and who's your captain. Yeah. He's not going there, right? So it's my Sherlock Holmes moment, right? I'm just deduction. If it's not A and it's not B, it has to be C. So I appreciate the kudos, but to me, if you're looking at the big picture, it jumped out at you, right?
Yeah. Well, and it was just, it's the move that kind of everyone expected. I think there was a lot of people. They're so emotional, the emotional tied to your players, right? And I don't know if that's just because of jersey purchases, because I love a lot of these players that I still have yet to have jerseys with. I don't know what it is. If you're upset because you just bought the Nino Niederreiter jersey because you loved him for a long time and you finally have the money to get him, and then you get the jersey and in 3 months later he's now a Predator, that could be angering, and I can understand that, and emotional.
The best tip Ray and I can give anybody listening is, if you like a player and their contract is up in the next year or two, just don't buy that jersey. If it's going to affect you. I have 3 Svechnikov sweaters that I bought this past year after he locked in for 8 years.
There you go. That, right? Yeah, that's safe, right? You're going to be
the
all
guys
right
come and go, and I love the fact. I mean, I hate it for our fans. So many people were upset, particularly I think with Niederreiter, because I think people. But that was the one that was the question mark, right? Trocheck, we felt was gone.
Yeah,
but Nino, I think people expected to say. So I really feel bad for the people who for Nino leaving. But I love that our fans care enough about guys. They get it. I mean, you get attached to players. How do you not? I mean, most of these guys are really good guys, at least publicly. They do a lot for the fans. They interact with the fans. We've always said that's a small market. Teams have to do. So I can't. I loved meeting Drury. I loved meeting Piotr. In the Calder Cup finals. And if he got traded tomorrow, I would be heartbroken.
Yeah, sure.
For a short time. And then I move on because I'm
part of the
unfortunately, game. When you've been watching hockey as long as we have, or sports in general, be hockey.
Yeah.
As long as we have. I mean, between this over 60 years.
Yeah.
At some point you just go, I know this is coming. It's just a matter of when.
Well, look, when your favorite player in hockey in history is traded away, that type of devastation is the eye opener. I remember how horribly I felt when Francis was dealt to the Penguins. I was devastated, inconsolable, and that sounds like hyperbole. It's not. To the people who knew me at the time, were just like, someone check on Raymond. He's upset. You know what I mean? And that's the way it was. Now, that type of experience was the eye opener about the business aspect of the game. You know what I mean? Until then, it wasn't a business. It was just a passion. It was whatever. But now you see the business, and that was an eye opener for me. And I think with Niederreiter going, just very quickly, it wasn't. It's not only the fact that you love the player, but it created the question about what it does to the best line the best, most consistent line that we had, and who is now, and it creates the questions of who's going to be the person to fill in that spot. And you and I both know he dang well better be as good as Nino. You know what I mean? They better perform.
Right.
The person that takes his spot is under a microscope now, because he's gone, a much loved player. The next guy up better be at least as good.
Oh yeah. You don't want to come in and try and fill those shoes and not be able to put up.
It would be like who's replacing Aho, or in your case, who's replacing Svechnikov? Someone coming in, if Svechnikov should go, and knock on wood that never happens, but you know what I'm saying? Like the spotlight on these players is huge, is absolutely huge.
Big fish in a small pond.
Oh right? Boy, yeah, no question.
You mentioned Francis, which I'm sure was heartbreaking.
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you.
A podcast we enjoy, the Storm Surge, Bailey and Zach. They did their all-time Canes draft last week, I think it was. Right?
Oh wow!
And then they put up and they said who had the best draft, and Bailey is a newer Canes fan, a newer hockey fan. Bailey knocked out the park because her first pick was Cam Ward. I can get behind that.
Ooh, yeah.
Her second pick, Paul Coffey, who was the guy who got me into hockey. He was not the best Canes defenseman.
No.
But if you're talking about if you just want to look at the body of work career-wise.
Sure, yeah.
When Paul Coffey went from Carolina to Boston, I had just moved up. No, I had not moved up here yet. And I remember just being sad. And then seeing him play, and he really fell off, unfortunately, when he came to Boston. I think I've told the Coffee Filter story before.
Yeah.
And I was heartbroken, absolutely just devastated. But I did want to give Bailey a shout out because when you said Francis, I was thinking Coffee. Bailey won their all-time Canes draft. Paul Coffey, Andrei Svechnikov, Eric Stahl, Ray Whitney, Glenn Wesley, Cam Ward, head coach Rod Brindamore. That is a very good draft, and it was draft order, right? So they took turns. That is a rock solid team.
What was okay? Well, now I have to hear the other team. You know what? Never mind. I'll listen to the podcast, and I'll listen to the draft as it unfolds because that's impressive. That's impressive. And you know what? She Bailey going with the goaltender as your first pick, smart.
I think almost everybody did. It's definitely worth a listen at the Surge Cast is their Twitter username. A lot of it, maybe not surprising. A lot of guys from 2002 to 2006, and a lot of new guys, and only a handful of guys in between, one or two, of which Paul Coffey's one of those.
Wow!
Big props to Bailey because she had to research that. I'm not making that up. Like she said on air, like I researched who I was going to do. So I thought she did an amazing job.
That's amazing.
Sam Weismer, Kat Hunter, who's been on our program, as well as Zach, have all been on the program. Sam has not, but Kat and Zach have. Was the four people involved. They all did a tremendous job. So just a shout out to all four of those folks.
That's outstanding.
That was a lot of fun. It made me think maybe one day we can maybe get a couple of folks on, maybe a Canes fan and like somebody who kind of started with the Whale.
Yeah.
And I would like, so they only did Hurricanes. You had to have played at least one regular season game in a Hurricanes uniform.
Okay.
I would like for us to maybe Zach will be our Caniac. We'll bring Zach on, or Bailey. Actually, well, Bailey might take Paul Coffey, so maybe not Bailey. but we extend that to include Whalers.
Oh,
because in their prime, there were some Whale players who were among the best to ever put on, a Hurricane /
Blaine Stoughton, Rick Lee, good, like for goaltending,
Mike
Liute. Oh my gosh!
Excuse me, I flipped my vowels.
Okay, so that sounds like really exciting, and now
that'd be fun,
I'm going to spend a lot of time going over all of the teams, so I'm ready to. I might be the full Whaler guy. You know what I mean? Here's what Kevin Dineen, right?
I think they both listen. Zach and Bailey. I'm just going to invite you both on to do this because we're stealing your idea.
Yeah.
So we'll have you on. Maybe we'll get one of our hardcore Whalers folks to join us, and we'll have a 5-way draft.
That would be outstanding.
And it'll be anybody from the New England Whalers through the Hurricanes, and that opens up another couple of years for the folks.
Yeah, well, that brings you Gordie Howe, right?
Gordie Howe, both of his kids, right? 2 of his sons played for the Whale.
Wow.
But that also brings in when the Whalers, the New England Whalers, entered the WHA, and this will be on the Whalers podcast that we will be producing in the fall.
Yeah.
They won a league championship.
They did.
Technically, the first championship in team history.
In franchise history. Yeah. You go back through your lineage, look back in history.
If you go back to the Boston Whale days, then there was a league. Just real quick, because I brought it up, and you're wearing a Whalers hat.
I am.
The Whalers podcast is something my son wanted to do with me. We've been working on it, doing our research. We're going to have you on. We certainly have reached out to like the Whalers Booster Club is an entity that formed after they left. I've reached out to some of those folks. I reached out to Pat Pickens, who wrote kind of the book about the Whale. He's agreed to come on. That is going to be a fun podcast. If you're into history, even if you're not a huge fan of the Whalers, I think it'll be fun because it'll be 26 episodes, a year by year look at the Whale. So each podcast will be a year of Whalers history. And then if people like it, then my son wants to do season 2 that would include the transition to Raleigh and 25 years of Canes history. So a bi-weekly podcast that I'm really looking forward to because it's fun. I'm a history buff. I'm hoping that History Girl Jen will come on sometime, maybe, and talk some Whalers with us. Yeah, I've invited her on to talk on Regional 6 with us because they're not original. They're not original at all.
Not even close. But that would be great.
I've taken us off on a huge tangent. I apologize. But,
no, that's quite all right. That's quite all right.
I just like talking about it.
Turnabout's fair play, though, because I'm going to take us on to another different tangent, although we did speak about this last week. We're talking about what has changed here in Calgary. Jonathan Huberdeau, a new Johnny Hockey in Calgary, who was traded for Tkachuk, along with a Uyghur and a couple of other pieces. Huberdeau signed by True Living for a massive contract.
Huge.
Long-term deal. And Brad, I told you that I believe that True Living had absolutely won the trade. Even if Huberdeau, who was coming up to be a UFA, as is Uyghur, after one season, even at that point, if they only had them for 1 year, he still won the trade. Now that they've signed Huberdeau, who is just fired up and ready to go, a long term, this was great. In essence, True Living, in the end, did land Johnny Hockey for long term. That was what they wanted to do with Gaudreau, but they got Huberdeau instead. And Huberdeau, who played astounding hockey, an MVP candidate. He's going to make there are a lot of very happy people in Calgary.
I bet I don't even remember my initial take on the trade other than I was shocked.
Yeah.
I can go back and listen and keep myself in check. I believe I said, what does Florida think? But I also said, Calgary, what are you thinking? Because you just gave up assets for 2 guys who may not be there next year.
Yeah.
I can at least say that as time has gone on and the more I've thought about it, I was like, this is a win for Calgary because Florida gave up a lot of scoring for toughness.
Yep.
I do remember saying that I thought they did that specifically to play against Tampa Bay. And the contract for Huberdeau is 8 by $10.5 million. I mean, it was more they even offered to the previous Johnny Hockey, I believe.
Yeah.
If they can also sign Uyghur, then it is it could end up being a win for both teams, but holy smokes, Calgary has a lot to be happy about with that signing.
Yeah, they're just absolutely thrilled. And anyone who was, besmirching Treliving, really, they're very quiet now, as well they should be, because he just did a masterful job, a masterful signing. I mean, we heard about this where he traveled to Montreal to meet with Huberdeau and sit down with them personally and develop look, this is what we're looking at. This is what we want to do. The dance that we spoke about earlier in the program as it concerns Necas. He did the same thing. He took great effort in making sure that he got this guy, and Huberdeau is going to be greeted mightily. They will blow the roof off of that Saddle Dome dump when his name is announced. I'm telling you, the fans are going to be it's going to be amazing and good for them.
And that's a Canadian boy going back home too.
Yeah,
no offense to Florida, the hardcore fans are, it's like Carolina, right? The hardcore fans are a small but dedicated group.
100%.
I don't think that they have the extension, like the bandwagon that we have enjoyed, which are people that we always say, though, bandwagon fans can become real fans.
Yeah.
But he's going, coming from St. Jerome, Quebec, now to Calgary, I think is going to be huge for him. I think he's going to really enjoy it. I mean, he put up, in the playoffs last year, he kind of disappeared. That's, but that's not a knock on him. But during the regular season, he put up 115 points. He was a plus 35.
To be fair, the whole of the Panthers disappeared.
Yeah, the whole team was
like the whole team disappeared, bad. Right? But he was just such an important aspect of the Panthers squad, and he will step into this position and easily perform and become instantly. I mean, I know I have already seen that, without a word of a lie. I've already seen the Huberdeau jersey.
I saw somebody tape over the first part of Goudreau and scribbled on with Scotch tape or with a masking tape, and then put Huberdeau.
Yeah, this is it's absolutely great, and this is the big thing with UFAs, right? Like when you bring a UFA into your team, or when you have them on your team, it's the future. What are you going to do? How are we going to do it? And the Hurricanes have their own issue with that as well. And you, because you're the number cruncher, because you're the brains of this operation, you have put in a yeoman's effort to bring to us in this broadcast an opportunity to talk about UFAs and the future of the Hurricanes, because we've talked about the window that we have of being a contender, a major contender. And of course, who the UFAs are in the coming years affect that greatly, especially when we're as young as we are, as we already spoke about. So take us through us, Brad. I mean, what are we looking at UFA wise in this team and in our future?
For those of you particularly who are newer to hockey, or are just the folks who fall in love with the Trocheks and Niederreiters, maybe you want to skip this part.
Maybe
this may not be warm fuzzies, right?
Yeah.
This is more going to be the business side, but at some point we have to face facts.
Yes.
Next year, so the 23-24 season, Jordan Stahl's contract is up. He'll be UFA. Max Pacioretty, who I don't know that they were looking to re-sign necessarily given his age and all, but a short term could be something, right? Jasper Fast, Andre Kasha.
There it is. That a boy.
Anderson and Ronta are all UFAs next year.
Yeah. So one more season with them.
Yeah, and those are folks that I even guys like Fast. Fast is a third line guy, but people love him.
Oh,
right? 24-25, it gets worse. And I say worse. I mean, every team goes through this, but as a fan who, like you said, is invested in players, it gets worse.
Yeah.
24-25, these are all just unrestricted free agents. Sebastian Aho, Teuvo Teravainen, Jordan Martinook is still a fan favorite, and people are down on him because he's taken money from guys who they thought could have been spelled elsewhere, but people still love him. I mean, come on.
I do.
You gotta love Marty.
I love his heart. He's fantastic.
Our entire second D pair, Brett Pesce and Brady Shea, are both UFAs 24-25. And then Jalen Chatfield, who hasn't really played up in the bigs other than a couple of games, but that's something. Mm-hmm. And then the year after that, 25-26, is both Burns and Slavin. So particularly, I mean, the forwards is a rough patch, but particularly on defense, your top 4 defensemen all have contracts expiring and will be UFAs in the next 3 years. So when we say it is time to win now, I don't expect players to give hometown discounts. I've said that before.
Yeah, you can't take a haircut.
It's like it's great when they do. Like more props guys can do it. And the salary cap will finally be climbing again, right? We've had a flat cap, which initially made me think that Huberdeau deal was too much at $10.5 million.
Right.
But as the cap climbs and people, as that continues to climb and people are more invested in hockey, there's more money. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, between the end of the 24 season and the end of the 26 season, you have to re-sign Aho, Pacioretty, Stahl, Teravainen, Fost, Martinook, Kasha, Slavin, Burns, Pesce, Shea, Chatfield, and both your goalies. And obviously, some of those guys are not getting new contracts, right? Brent Burns is going to be a dinosaur. As much as I already love him, that's not a contract that you're renewing, unless he's going to be a 5-6 guy for $1 million a year.
Yeah,
that's most of your team. If
that
you want to win a cup,
team,
you better get moving.
For the record, the iron is hot now. It's time to strike, guys. This is what we're going to need. Brad, I'm going to put you on the spot. I never imagined that I was going to do this. So year by year, okay, next year's UFAs, I'm demanding to know from you right now who we have to sign and who we are okay to let go.
I can do that. I'm going to give you the RFAs too. I'm going to do.
Oh, look at that.
Fire if they need a contract, let's talk. Max Pacioretty could be a hit or miss. At $7 million, that's a lot of money.
It is.
He's had injury concerns last year. That's why he's in Carolina now.
Yep.
If he's a hit, then that might be a contract that you would look at.
Right.
Jordan Stahl. I feel like Jordan has all but said he's retiring. I don't think Jordan's coming back, and I don't think that'll be the Canes' decision. I think Jordan is retiring next year.
Okay.
Jesper Fast. I'd give him another contract, a couple $1 million. Well worth it. Andre Kasha is a tough one because he's only costing you $1.5 million, and he can put up more than $1.5 million worth of offense. So he's not a have to sign, but he's another one of those guys who's like, well, that might not be a bad idea.
And going back to Quickie there, going back to Fost, you said you could give him a contract. You'd be okay to give him a contract. Do you have to? Is he a must keep? Is he a must keep to this franchise if we're going on?
He is next year's Niederreiter.
There you go.
On one level, everybody says you have to keep that line together.
Mm-hmm.
Don Waddell disagrees, and I think overall the Canes are better. So do you have to keep him? You don't. I think I would like to keep him, but
I'd love to keep him.
Sign.
You're right, and that's a great reference to him. He will be next season's Niederreiter. Absolutely, he will. So. Absolutely.
Lane Peterson is a restricted free agent next year. That's you don't need to re-sign him.
Nope.
Ethan Bear, if he's here, I would say you probably need to re-sign him, knowing that both Pesce and Shea are out the following year potentially, or they're at least going to be unrestricted. If he's here, my assumption is if he's still here at the end of the year, he's playing well.
Yeah, well, and he's on a prove it contract right now. You know what I mean? Like that.
So if he proves it, then
contract. If he proves it, then 100%. Yes, understood.
And then Dylan Coughlin is not somebody you have to resign. You can find another depth defenseman. But now it comes to the goalie. This is like the hardest part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Anderson and Raanta. I don't. How to phrase this? Depending on how they played this year, I feel like you have to keep one of them. And my guess would be Raanta. Because after next year, and mostly because he's $2 million versus $4.5 million.
Right.
And he played stellar. Anderson is overall the better of the two of them. Anderson's a year younger, but Raanta played you into the second round to a game 7 hurt, right? With a strained MCL. That I can't talk enough about that guy.
That says so much.
But you do have Piotr ready to step in, I think, or after another year in the AHL that he doesn't necessarily need, but I think it'll be good for him.
Mm-hmm.
So between Raanta and Anderson, I think you want stability there and you re-sign one. The good or bad news is Don Wandell definitely does not agree with me about needing to keep goaltenders.
Right.
Don has clearly showed Don will just ship them both out and replace them with 2 new guys in a heartbeat.
Yep.
And the funny thing about goaltenders is that is an equally valid thing to do, right?
Well, we've proven that it can work.
Right. That's what I mean. Is Don just
we lost our minds. We lost our minds when Ned was gone.
We all thought we were screwed. Very few Caniacs didn't think we were totally hosed when he shipped out Ned.
Well, he shipped them out, and we didn't have a replacement yet. Yeah, Mrazek and they were both gone, and we're like, okay, looking around, where are you going to get your goaltending? And he came through big. So apologies for, doubting him, because it worked out great, and it wouldn't have necessarily. That's what a lot of people have said was so unique about this situation, was 2 Hurricane goaltenders who are brand new coming into a new environment. There's learning the locker room, learning the mode of the team, everything.
They're both north of 30.
Yeah. So there was not a lot of expectation that it was going to be as good as it was. Now, with the injuries, which were, issues for both of them, looking down the road, you're right. I don't know that both of them could be re-signed.
So I just went through individually, and to recap in case I was unclear, the only person in that list who I said you need to resign is Ethan Bear, and that's assuming Ethan Bear is playing, as a 3-4 guy.
Yeah.
The Pacioretty, all those big names, and the only guy on that list you have to bring back of that group is Bear.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
24-25. Sebastian Aho, you have to keep if at all possible, in my mind. And if you're keeping Sebastian, you got to keep Tavo.
Yeah.
I mean, those 2 guys are just, it's like having a left and a right hand that know how to work together. Just to have those 2 guys on the ice at the same time just is something special. And Sebastian is 9th all time, I think, in franchise points, and that includes the Whale in 6 seasons. I mean, and Tavo's a big part of that. So in my mind, if you can re-sign Sebastian and Tavo, you do. Martinook, love you, buddy. That $1.8 million can go elsewhere. Jarvis will be an RFA that year. Yeah. You absolutely re-sign Jarvis.
Yep.
The hard part of this season, unlike the goaltending last, for 24 and 25, it's what do you do about Shea and Pesci?
Yeesh.
And they'll be approaching 30.
Mm-hmm.
There are guys out there you can get to replace them, as much as people don't want to hear that. I don't think that you have to keep either of those guys because the Hurricanes are loaded up on D.
Yeah.
We've got defensemen that, and if you're keeping Bear the previous year, my expectation is Bear is a 3-4 guy and can fill in for one of those.
Right.
And then you have Jalen Chatfield, who, once again, you don't have to keep him.
Yeah.
But you likely will. So for 24-25, I think you do whatever you can to keep Teravainen and Aho. And then I think, like I said, the Shea and Pesce are the hard ones there.
They sure are.
I would keep Pesce over Shea.
Yeah.
I will go so far as to say you have to keep Brett Pesce. Because defensively, he's a little younger than Shea. He's more stable. He's a lower cap hit. I could throw Brett into that.
Those were the absolute 3 must signs there. And for me to chime in as far as Bear goes, because Bear is on a prove it contract, he's not a must sign.
Yeah, that's
just
a good
because
point.
he's on a prove it contract, we need him to really step up. Do I want him? 1000%. Yes, I want him. Right. I want him on this roster, but it's not a must have. It is not to the
good. That is an excellent
level.
Point, sir.
It's not for me. Aho, when I say Aho is a must sign, I want him on this team as much as I wanted the Whalers to keep Ron Francis.
Sebastian Aho might be the one player I can think of in modern times for the Canes who I would like to see spend his entire career in Carolina.
Yep.
And for even though I've said, hey, it's a business and I understand and love that we have passionate fans, if Teravainen doesn't get re-signed, I will have a bad couple of days. I'll move on quickly, but I promise you I will be devastated for at least a couple of days.
I love screaming turbo when he scores. I love his contributions, and I want him as a must sign too. And it's the only reason why I don't include him in the Aho as you have to sign him and you need him long-term career is because I think Aho is the type of talent who could play and improve anyone around him. Aho doesn't necessarily need Turbo to be as successful as he is, but Turbo is a hand in glove fit.
And I won't say that the fact that I love Teravainen isn't clouding my judgment because he would be on the fence for me, and I put him in the you must sign category. But if I didn't like the guy, it would be easier for me to for exactly that reason. Can he be replaced? Like, he'll be 29. We know that they don't give long-term contracts to guys that age.
Yeah,
sure, but having him on this team in general makes, much like Aho makes people better. You put Tuvo with Aho and Jarvis, the line does great. You put him with Svechnikov does better. Like he's one of those guys who he thinks hockey just better than most of the guys he plays with.
Yeah,
which makes them better.
There's that IQ aspect for him that is just,
and he'll be getting old, but that's
Teravainen. I want it. You're making me, you're now making me rethink about how much we need him. But then I know what's coming up next season.
25-26 season's the biggie. And it's also the easiest one because there's 2 guys really, Slavin and Burns. Burns is going to be 40. Burnsy, I would like nothing more than to see you lift a cup in Carolina with this team. In 25-26, I will shake your hand, pat you on the back, and say you've had a hell of a career. Good luck.
Dan,
there's no way you're re-signing a 40-year-old guy.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's Jaromir Jagr, maybe. I mean, that guy's that guy's playing.
I was going to say, is he Tom Brady?
Jagger's in his 50s. He's playing, over back home, and he's still better than a third of the guys in the league.
At least.
So Jacob Slavin is a no-brainer to me. The biggest thing with Jacob Slavin versus somebody like a Hamilton is Hamilton's not good defensively, right? Yeah. So when he's putting up points, he's an asset. When he's not, then he's a liability.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Kat Hunter was having this discussion on Twitter with people the other day because she said Cale Makar isn't a phenomenal defenseman, but they were talking about the Norris a little bit. And Slavin gets overlooked. Slavin is a stay-at-home defenseman. He can shut down anybody. He has shut down Connor McDavid, which guys like Cale Makar have not been able to do.
Nope.
You 100% need that guy in your locker room.
That's and that's what a lot of people have said, that why the Norris Trophy has turned into like the greatest point scoring defenseman trophy. Like that, if you're not scoring points on defense, you're not considered for the Norris. And sorry, guys,
they need a new trophy for that.
They absolutely. It seems reasonable to have another way to grade your defenseman.
If there's a Selke trophy for the best defensive forward,
why isn't there
a separate trophy for the best offensive defenseman?
Yep.
Or here's what you do. You don't add a new one. You just say the Selke is open to two-way players.
Yeah. There you
go. Which they wouldn't do because of the history, but adding a trophy is what I would prefer.
Let's add a trophy and say, your highest scoring defenseman. Call it the you could call it the coffee trophy.
Oh, well, I was going to say you just call it the Jacob Slavin trophy.
Yeah,
there's nobody better than him. Purely.
See, that's the thing. You make the new trophy for the offensive defenseman. You call that one the coffee trophy, so that the Norris trophy can then just go to Slavin as he so richly deserves.
Paul Coffey had the kind of career that, in my mind, I'm super biased, but he had that kind of career. Folks.
He did 100%. And let me also state, it sounds weird that I have more than one player as a must sign. And now Slavin has this is bad of me. I'm drawing a blank right now. Has Slavin been with us for his entire career, or where did he?
Yes, sir.
He did start with us. See, so there's another reason why he should be with us for this franchise for his entire career. And you lock him down because the value that he brings goes beyond even just what he does on D.
Yep, he was drafted in 2015.
There you go. So to compare Aho to Francis, it makes sense that they're both centers. You know what I mean? But as far as must signs, to me, Slavin as well fits in with Aho. You have to sign him. You don't give anyone a chance to, and if that means overpaying, so be it.
Slavin is to Carolina what Ray Bourque was to Boston for so many years.
Question.
Not in terms of, Bourque was a different kind of defenseman, but in terms of an iconic representation of a franchise, in only 6 years, when you think Hurricanes, in my modern Hurricanes, you think Aho and Slavin should be the two guys who jump off the page.
Yep. 1,000%. I got to tell you, man, this, you did magnificent. I gotta say, putting you on the spot like that, because it's an emotional situation with you've got the numbers crunched, who was laid out for us, and to put you on the spot as a must sign, must be a Hurricane, cannot let go. This would be unforgivable if you let them go. You skated through that like a pro.
Well, thank you. And rethinking, you're right about Bear. Bear can be replaced. So if you think about, we're going to turn over more than half the team the next couple of years.
Yep.
And I only mentioned 4 guys who I were this guy just has to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the turnover is real, right?
The turnover is real, and it's why people. I know it's not looked upon well as your championship window, right? A lot of people don't look at that. They like to think that the window is always open. If you're running your team correctly, the window is always open. And the Hurricanes have. We're in a great situation too, and part of the reason why so few players have to be re-signed to stay in our eyes is because we have a franchise with the depth in farm and the ability to draft well that you're always going to be able to keep that window open. We're in a good cycle right now. I mean, it can go away fast, and we've seen how that happened after 2009, where we waited for so long to get something going. But now that we've got the window open, I guess it just speaks to how long it takes to rebuild if there's a collapse in the team or something goes askew, or you make one or two bad deals, or you have one or two people in the not necessarily the right place. Maybe you have the wrong coach. Maybe you have a GM decides he's going to take a job, because look, GMs move around too, right?
Right. So, and when we talk about the window, to speak to what you're saying, teams that have never won the cup ever, the Coyotes, which doesn't maybe sound like, oh, that's a big deal, but that includes when they were the Winnipeg Jets.
Yep.
That's a long time. Buffalo Sabres have been 52 years, I think, as a franchise. No cup. Florida Panthers might also sound like, oh, like they're not an old school team. They've been around for almost 30 years. They're older than the Canes, no cup.
Yep.
The Senators came into the league in 92.
Yep.
So they're a little newer, no cup. Right? San Jose Sharks, I think they joined when I started high school, so that would have been like 1990, 91. Yep. No cup. The Vancouver Canucks, no cup.
So when close, you have, but yeah,
when you have the talent and the drive and the GM who's willing to make the decisions now, you don't want to sacrifice long-term health for short-term gain to a point, because you should be willing to sacrifice a couple of years to get the cup, because there are some fans of franchises that have been out there for 50 plus years, have never seen their team lift the cup, and aren't close. No. Vancouver and Buffalo.
Well,
not close.
Think about, and here's, it's not just the teams that have never won. Toronto Maple Leafs. Think about Toronto,
who hasn't won one since before I was alive, and I'm almost
67. 1967, the very last time that they won. That is a long wait for a team that, like, their window, they've had an opportunity for a long time. And they can't
get over the hump.
Through. They can't get over the hump. And at some point that's going to just disappear. And then they go right back, and you can just drop right off the cliff and become the worst team in the league for a long time.
The Blue Blanket Rouge, 24 cups. And they'll tell you 24 cups.
They keep telling you all the damn time.
Put the cups on a timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see a lot of marks, and then you'll see fewer marks, and then you see the occasional mark, and then there are no marks.
Yeah, desertification. I mean, it just...
you got to win. Like, the Hurricanes are primed to win. They got to make a move, and that's going to mean sending out guys that you love and getting in better guys. Patches and Burns.
And all we can hope is that we have someone at the helm who's and a group that are making the right decisions. And I think it's safe to say we have every reason to feel bullish about this team being a cup contender, not just someone who's going to get into the playoffs, but as a legitimate threat to lift Lord Stanley. And can you imagine? I mean, I think we're in good shape right now, but we've got big decisions to come.
If they can fix special teams in the playoffs, I certainly wouldn't bet against them.
If they can win a game on the road?
If they can win a game on the road.
Sorry,
that's a good start.
That was uncalled for. Too soon?
Oh, I honestly, at some point, I'm like, man, wouldn't it be cool to win a cup and not win any games on the road? Like, that'd be pretty neat. Except for one. You'd have to win the last one, because
you have to win the very last one. Yeah.
Colorado had the advantage there. But I'm like, wouldn't that be cool? If you went, 0 and, what 14-1 on the road or something like that. That'd be or 1-14 on the road or whatever it's going to be. That'd be awesome. That'd be amazing.
That way, yeah. Well, let's not push that.
That'd be legendary. Yeah, let's not do that. Let's go 16-0. Like,
yeah, there you go, and just win them all and be done with it. Yeah, Brad, this has been a great episode again.
Always a pleasure.
We've covered a lot of bases here, and one of the things, again, we'll throw this out there. I know that see, you've been doing a lot of hard work for the podcast, because you've got guests lined up in the future, right? And you've got it all on a beautiful spreadsheet that I've seen with my own eyes. You're working out the history. It's a beautiful spreadsheet, and it's got all of the people that we've all of the great Caniacs and jerks that we've spoken to, and you're lining them up in the future. And this is it's exciting. I love it. I absolutely love it. Looking forward to having the guests on. We're going to put the word out. We still are. If you want to chat with us, great. We certainly will have you aboard. Not only will we have you aboard, we still want to do that round table. So that's if you're
still would like to do that. I think I overestimated how or underestimated how busy people would be during the summer.
In the summer, yeah, you think, oh well, it's the hockey season's over, so everyone's chill.
Yeah, if you're not watching games 3 hours a day, then you've got time. But not everybody's busy. So.
Exactly. So we're still going to try to get that together, and
we'll get Zach and Bailey on. I want to do that all-time Canes draft.
That all-time draft, the franchise draft. That'd be outstanding. And this has been great. We've covered everything. I can't.
Our show notes, Ray. Just for people who don't believe me when I say we do minimal prep, our show notes are 9 lines, no more than like 5 words per line, and 2 of those lines say Mike Maniscalco. Mike Maniscalco, excuse me.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah.
Once you get started, you kind of know. Well, sometimes we don't know where we're going to go.
Yeah.
But we do know where we're going to end up. So.
We know where we're going to end up. And where we're going to end up is at a place where we've said everything that really needs to be said, except for just one thing.
Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.